So, good day everyone. My name is Denis and Mundo. I am a first year industrial engineering student from Pamantasan ng Cabuyao. So, today I'll be discussing the evolution of operating system. So, let's start. So, evolution of operating system. So, first, what is an operating system? An operating system is the software component of a computer system that is responsible for the management and coordination of activities and the sharing of the resources of the computer. The OS acts as a host for application programs that are run on the machine. Also, an operating system is a software that manages the computer hardware. The hardware must provide appropriate mechanisms to ensure the correct operation of the computer system, and to prevent user programs from interfering with the proper operation of the system. So, the early evolution of operating systems. So, the first computer did not have operating systems. Each program that was running on this first computer had to include all the code needed to run on the computer, communicate with the connected hardware, and perform the calculation that the program was intended to perform. This situation made even the simplest programs become very complex. So these are the things that are invented during the early evolution of operating systems. First is the ENIAC, then the EDSAC and EDVAC, then BINAC, UNIVAC, IBM 701, and lastly is the Fortran. So let's start with the ENIAC. ENIAC, also known as the Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. The ENIAC was the first electronic computer used for general purposes, such as solving numerical problems. It was invented by John Presper Eckert and John Mauchly at the University of Pennsylvania to, to calculate artillery firing tables for the United States Army's Ballistic Research Laboratory. Its construction began in 1943 and was not completed until 1946. Although it was not completed until the end of World War II, the ENIAC was created to help with the war effort against German forces. So this is a picture of a ENIAC and the other information. So next is the EDVAC and EDSAC. EDVAC, also known also known as the Electronic Discrete Variable Automatic Computer, was one of the earliest electronic computers. Unlike its predecessor, the ENIAC, it was binary rather than decimal and was designed to be a stored program computer. So next is the EDSAC, or or the, the Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator, was an early British computer inspired by John von Neumann's seminal first draft of a report on the EDVAC. The machine was constructed by Maurice Wilkes and his team at the University of Cambridge Mathematical Laboratory in England. So this is a picture of an EDVAC and an EDSAC. So the inventor of EDSAC is Mr. Maurice Vincent Wilkes. So BINAC, also known as the Binary Automatic Computer, was an early electronic computer designed for Northrop Aircraft Company by the Eckert Mauchly Computer Corporation, or the EMCC, in 1949. Eckert and Mauchly, though they had started the design of EDVAC at the University of Pennsylvania, those two chose to leave and start EMCC, the first computer company. BINAC was their first product, the first stored program computer in the United States. The BINAC is also sometimes wrongly claimed to be the world's first commercial digital computer, even though it was very limited in scope, never fully functional, and always economically unviable. So this is a picture of a BINAC. So next is the UNIVAC, or Universal Automatic Computer, was a line of electronic digital stored program computer, starting with the products of the Eckert-Mauchly Computer Corporation. Later, the name was applied to a division of the Remington Rand Company and successor organizations. So this is a picture of a UNIVAC. And these two are the inventors of ENIAC, EDVAC, BINAC, and UNIVAC, Mr. John Mockley and Mr. John Presper Eckert. So next is the IBM 701, Electronic Data Processing Machine, known as the Defense Calculator while in development, was IBM's first commercial scientific computer and its first series production mainframe computer, which was announced to the public on April 29, 1952. It was invented and developed by Jerrier Haddad and Nathaniel Rochester, based on the IAS machine at Princeton. This is a picture of a IBM 701. And the inventors Mr. Jerrier Haddad and Nathaniel Rochester. So next is the Fortran. It's a computer programming language that is extensively used in numerical scientific computing. While out with the scientific community, Fortran has declined in popularity over the years. It still has a strong user base with scientific programmers, and is also used in organizations such as weather forecasters, financial trading, and in engineering simulations. Fortran programs can be highly optimized to run on high-performance computers. And, and, and in general, the language is suited to producing code where performance is important. So this is a picture of a Fortran. And the inventor, Mr. John Bacchus. So, operating system in the late 1950s. Also called as the second generation. The first operating system was introduced in the early 1950s. It was called GMOS and was created by General Motors for IBM's machine, the 701. Operating system in the 1950s were called single stream batch processing systems because the data was submitted in groups. These new machines were called mainframes, and they were used by professional operators in large computer rooms. Since there was such a high price tag on these machines, only government agencies or large corporations were able to afford them. So, operating system in the late 1950s. By the late 1950s, operating systems were well improved and started supporting following usages. The first one is it was able to perform single stream batch processing. And then next, it could use common standardized input or output routines for a device access. And the third one is program transitions capabilities to reduce the overhead of starting a new job was added. And the fourth one was error recovery to clean up after a job terminated abnormally was added. And lastly, job control languages that allowed users to specify the job definition and resource requirements were made possible. So operating system in 1960s. So the first one is the mini computer. It's a class of smaller computer that was developed in the mid 1960s and sold for much less than mainframe and mid-sized computers from IBM and its direct competitors. The next one is the compatible time sharing, or the CTSS, was one of the first time sharing operating systems. It was developed at the MIT Computation Center. CTSS was first demonstrated on MIT's IBM 709 in November 1961. Service to MIT users began in the summer of 1963 and was operated until 1973. During part of this time, MIT's influential project MAC also ran a CTSS service, but the system did not spread beyond these two sites. CTSS was described in a paper presented at the 1962 Spring Joint Computer Conference and greatly influenced the design of other early time-sharing systems. So next is the Bureau's Master Control Program. The MCP is the proprietary operating system of the Bureau's small, medium, and large system, including the Unisys, ClearPath, and MCP systems. So these are the things that are also mentioned in operating system in the 1960s. I will give you some information about this. So first is the IBM System 360. It was the first family of computer design to cover the complete range of applications, from small to large, both commercial and scientific. So in 1960, the disk became mainstream. In 1966, mini computers got cheaper, more powerful, and really useful. In 1967 to 1968, the mouse was invented. Was It was invented by Mr. Douglas Engelbart in 1964 and onwards, Multics. And in 1969, the Unix time sharing system. So next is the supported OS features by 1970s. Multi-user and multitasking was introduced. Dynamic address translation hardware and virtual machines came into picture. Modular architecture came into existence. Personal interactive systems came into existence. So these are the accomplishments after 1970. The first one is that in 1971, Intel announces the microprocessor. In 1972, IBM comes out with VM, the Virtual Machine Operating System. In 1973, Unix 4th edition is published. In 1973, the Ethernet was introduced. So, let me give you some ideas about the Ethernet. So, an Ethernet is a way of connecting computers together in a local area network or LAN. So, next is that in 1974, the personal computer age begins. Also in 1974, Gates and Allen wrote BASIC for the Altair. In 1976, the Apple II. In August 12, 1981, IBM introduces the IBM personal computer. In 1983, Microsoft begins works on MS Windows. In 1984, Apple Macintosh comes out. In 1990, Microsoft Windows 3.0 comes out. In 1991, GNU and Linux. So let me give you also some tips, some ideas about the GNU. GNU is an extensive collection of free software which can be used as an operating system or can be used in parts with other operating system. So next is the Linux. So a Linux is a family of open source Unix-like operating systems based on the Linux kernel. An operating system kernel first released on September 17, 1991 by Linus Torvalds. Linux is typically packaged in a Linux distribution. So next is in 1992 the first Windows virus comes out. The first virus was called the Brain virus from Pakistan. So Brain virus was a boot sector virus and only infected 360K floppy disks. Interestingly, even though it was the first virus, it had full stealth capability. So next is in 1993, the Windows NT. In 2007, the iOS. So let me give you also some ideas about the iOS. iOS is a mobile operating system created and developed by Apple Incorporated. So next is in 2008, the Android OS. So an Android is a mobile operating system based on modified version of the Linux kernel and other open source software designed primarily for touchscreen mobile devices such as smart, smartphones and tablets. So in the present day, and as the research and development work continues, we are seeing new operating systems being developed and existing ones, getting improved and modified to enhance the overall user experience, making operating systems fast and efficient like never before. Also, with the onset of new devices like wearables, which include smartwatches, smart glasses, VR gears, and etc., the demand for unconventional operating systems is also rising. So, thanks for listening. That's all. I hope you understand something and have a good day.